Chisa has been revealed. Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. The long-awaited Chisa has finally been revealed, like I said. And the nice thing is that this is a character that has been long-awaited by a lot of people, so I'm sure that this particular reveal means a lot to quite a few folks. I will say myself, I'm very interested in what's going on here, because from what I can see, if my eyes don't deceive me, that is a new town behind her. A very industrial-looking place, in fact. So I believe that this confirms Chisa is gonna be our first new region character for the next place that we're going to. I believe it's probably New Federation, as that's the one that I've heard thrown around the most, but otherwise I don't really know what to expect. Renacita was pretty unexpected, so who knows? We'll have to see. I'm pretty excited though. You can see the kind of industrial vibe that they have going on here, so I'm personally expecting us to visit some big metropolitan city, which I find interesting. We'll see how Wuthering Waves executes that. Obviously not without its quirks, because if you look up above Chisa's head, a little bit to the right, you can see a giant ball thing that seems to be sucking in matter around it. So it'll be a metropolitan city alright, just with its own little Wuthering Waves flair. So that's fun. As for Chisa herself, I have to say, just to comment on the art itself for a minute, the composition of this drip marketing is really nice. Like, just as a piece of art, I really like this because the perspective is really cool. I like that they put her up on one of these big construction things. It's just a really cool angle. Now, I am wondering two things. First of all, is she certain that she's not gonna fall off from there? That is a really high up suspended object. And second of all, why is she there? Don't get me wrong, she's aura farming, she's looking cool, but like, why are you there? Now, that aside, let's have a closer look here. In terms of what I think of Chisa herself, I started off thinking of her pretty neutrally. I never really had a super strong opinion of her. I knew that people were really excited about her, but I didn't dislike her, I just didn't really care that much about her. She was kind of like, she exists. You are a person that exists to me. However, I don't really know why, but my opinion got more and more positive on her over time. I just kind of ended up coming around to the design more, not for any particular reason, I just think it looks nice. And now that I've had more time to look at it and I see the full thing together, I just think it looks nice. Especially in this particular image, the composition and everything is just excellent here. So, personally, I think she looks cool. All around, I really like the striking red aspect of her design, and one thing that I do want to point out, it's pretty clear that they're going for the anime schoolgirl aesthetic here. And, okay, this is just really funny to me. So she's a schoolgirl, and if you take a look at her weapon, it has little ruler lines on it. I just find that really funny. Like, personally, I really like that they made her weapon stationary. I'm really amused by that. I think that's hilarious. I like it, at least. That's funny. That is funny to me. All around, the character design just really works, especially with the weapon. I think it looks great. As for what I think she's gonna do, I literally could not tell you right now. We're gonna get attribute reveals tomorrow, likely, is what I've noticed, is that Kuro usually posts the attribute of these characters in their weapon class the next day over. I mean, we see that she's holding a sword, but this is Wuthering Waves. When do they ever categorize characters reasonably? Wait until we find out that she's a Spectro Gauntlet user or something. Like, dude, it could literally be anything. Now, if I'm thinking about what gaps we have in the meta, perhaps, there's always the room to make negative statuses a more friendly archetype to get into, but she's a 5-star character, so even if she did have anything to do with that, that wouldn't really solve the core problem at hand. Otherwise, she could be a support of some variety, I wouldn't know. We just don't really have many gaps in the meta outside of 4 stars, and she's obviously not filling that particular gap. One thing I can say, she is a very popular character. I know that people absolutely love Chisa, and because of that, I know that she's probably going to end up being good. I mean, saying a Wuthering Waves character is going to be good is like saying grass is green, because the balancing in this game is usually very good. Every new release is good to an extent, so that's not really a statement of any particular variety, bit of a non-statement of anything. However, I suppose what I mean to say is that I think Kuro's gonna show her some extra love because everybody ended up liking her. So, all around, I think she'll end up being good. And she is coming out before a brand new region. However, I don't really think that this is going to inhibit her kit in any way, shape, or form. We got Camellia before we went to Renacita, and Camellia was a good character, and she continued to be a good character for quite a long time. And honestly, with sequences, she ended up being pretty freaking strong. So being before a new region doesn't really mean anything, nor does it really indicate anything as to what her kit's going to be, or what her strength level is going to be. It just kind of means that you gotta keep in mind that if you pull for Chisa, well, then you might have to watch out, because who knows if you're gonna have enough for all the new characters that are gonna be coming up after her. I also just want to point out, I really like her style of jacket. Like, yes, it's pretty clear what they were going for here in terms of aesthetic, but she still feels unique, and I personally like that. I mean, personally, I do like that. I have seen some people say that she doesn't really fit into Wuthering Waves in particular, as in they like the design, they're just not really sure if it's a Wuthering Waves design, or I've seen some people comparing it to the Kill la Kill main character. I haven't watched Kill la Kill, but I can see the comparison. As for the other point, I don't know, I actually think she fits into Wuthering Waves quite nicely. I would say wuwa generally tries to go more realistic with their character designs, as in, usually there's not really any elements of an outfit where I look at it and I'm like, what is the purpose of that? What purpose does this serve? There are some characters that have stuff like that, but for the most part, everybody has very reasonable clothing in terms of practicality. Like, yes, there's fan servicey outfits, but they're not unrealistic is what I'm getting at. I feel like Chisa manages to be stylish while not really needing any crazy aspects to your design, and I think that's nice. I don't think she looks generic, because I think that I have seen some people say that. I personally like it. I'm not really sure why. It's kind of hard to explain why it works. I really think it does just boil down to this is aesthetically pleasing to me, and I don't really have another additional explanation for it. Like, it really does just boil down to, I think this character looks good, thumbs up. Now, the nice thing is that she's coming after Cho Yuen, so I'm actually going to be able to pull for her, because up until this point, I've just been saving for him. So, I will definitely try and get at least one Chisa. Well, we'll see what her kit does, I'm not sure. If she's negative status, then I'm really going to be on the fence about it, because I usually just don't like how those characters are made, like, at all. And it totally depends if her kit is actually useful to my encounter or not in that case. But if she's non-negative status, then I'm pretty open to just picking her up, because I'm a fan of the design, and I think she looks pretty cool. Narratively, I really couldn't guess as to what she's going to do, because, well, this is a bit of a random character. Though, okay, if I put 2 and 2 together and use a little bit of common sense, just a little bit of common sense, it's pretty clear that she's from another region, and she's probably going to tell us about that region before we actually get there, or just tell us a reason as to how we can get there, or why we should even go there. Something along those lines. She's gonna just probably give us some general tour guidance for the new area that we're gonna head to. I have to say, I am really curious about what the new lineup of characters is going to be for the new region. Like, I don't know when we're gonna get that. I don't know when we got the Renacita lineup. I know we got it like a good while before we got the actual region itself, so that we had characters to look forward to and such. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. However, with Chisa herself, let's just keep the focus on her, because after all, I do believe that on the whole, across the board, she was the most anticipated character for like basically everyone, and I can see why. She does look really cool. Cho Yuen's obviously my star of the show. I can't wait to pull for the guy. However, Chisa does look fantastic, I have to say. I am actually going to say this though. I'm really surprised that none of the big gacha games have made a character like this. Maybe I'm just forgetting. Maybe there is someone like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but have we gotten a character like this? Like, just like a complete school outfit type of aesthetic. I'm surprised, but I think this is like the first time that I'm seeing this? Like, this exact type of clothing style. I'm pretty sure that Chisa's the first time I've seen this in one of the bigger gacha games. I know it's in some of the more niche ones, but I'm actually quite surprised that this isn't more prevalent. You would think that such a common archetype would actually be more prevalent, but surprisingly not. I'm actually quite surprised by that. Either way, I think that Chisa is a pretty interesting release, and if that's her weapon that she's holding, I'm gonna be real, I am gonna get it. I am so getting that weapon. Like, come on, dude. It's literally a ruler. That's awesome. I love that. Like, I really hope that even if I don't get the character, I just want the weapon to have some uses. Not only does it just look cool, but I'm just so amused by the fact that they really turned a ruler into a sword, dude. Like, what? I don't know. I personally like that. I'm into that. I think that's hilarious. But that aside, she looks interesting. As for what she's actually going to do in the meta, I really don't know. I'll say it's been a hot minute since we've gotten a third slot teammate that's generalist. That could be nice. We literally haven't gotten that since Shorekeeper. But to be honest, I don't think Kuro Games really wants to make another Shorekeeper, and they'd rather keep teams on the more niche side. So my personal expectation is that she's gonna end up being good for some particular DPS and is gonna boost up their teams quite a bit, if not be a main DPS herself. I think that's also likely enough considering that Chisa's very popular and there's likely a lot of people that want to main her. They might even go Phoebe style and make her good for both playstyles so that everybody gets what they want. We get a DPS like every patch, so that would check out. However, because Chisa seems to be the only new 5-star that we're getting next patch, I mean, that could change. Tomorrow we could get dripped with a new 5-star, we'll have to see. But because she is seemingly the only 5-star next patch, we should consider that Cantarella also released on her own in her own patch, and she was a support. So there is always the potential for her to be a support, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully this video was able to tell you some of my thoughts on Chisa. This has been Juice, signing out, and that ruler, man, I need the ruler.